This is Devin Galladay with InTheKnowTraveler.com, and today I'm standing with Carrie of Papua New Guinea Tourism.
Exactly.
And I have to admit, I don't know much about Papua New Guinea, and fortunately, maybe you have the opportunity to educate. What do you think would be some of the most important elements to traveling Papua New Guinea?
Would you mind if I gave you just a little background on Papua New Guinea and what it's all about?
Absolutely.
Okay, just to start off with, it's the second largest non-continent island in the world. We have 25% of the world's languages, 725 languages, not dialects. So it makes it an amazing country in itself. The reason all of these cultures have stayed intact is because there's no road system in the country. It's mainly flying between the different places, so the airplane is very, very important. Many places in the highlands, the first wheel they ever saw was the airplane wheel. So it's pretty exotic. You would go to Papua New Guinea, to answer your question, for either the active sports, which would be kayaking, diving, surfing, fishing, trekking, that type of thing. We're considered one of the top 3 destinations for diving in the world. It would be Papua New Guinea, Micronesia, and the Red Sea. Those would be the 3 top. Diving is very, very big for us. Then you get into the more active sports, and that's somewhat, it's very interesting. It's just a little more expensive for the backpacker type person. And then the main thing would be our cultural aspects. And there we would have, very similar to an East Africa experience, where you'd get up in the morning at a lodge and you'd go out in the mornings, you'd come back in the lunch, go back out in the afternoon, and you'd either go by boat or you'd go by 4-wheel drive, and you'd visit the various villages, how they live, what's still there. Papua New Guinea is not a place where it's knock knock, here come the tourists. We're definitely an exotic off the beaten track destination. It's been untouched by mass tourism. It has every day is a new adventure, and every part of the country is different. You have the islands that surround Papua New Guinea, from the Trobriand Islands, which are more Polynesian, and then you've got the coastal region, which is more westernized. It's been westernized since World War I and World War II. Then you get into the highlands area, where you find the bright colored people over here behind you, the Huli, and then different tribes that are just like that, walking down the roads. You'd be in for example, in a place called Tari, up in the highlands area. From the airport to a lodge would be 45 minutes, and it's like another world, just driving along the road and seeing people like this just bopping along. And you think, where am I? Because there's not a lot of tourists. So it's like you're an adventurer, you're an explorer. You've also got the Sepik River, which is somewhat, I would think people would know the Amazon, so it would be like the Amazon of the South Pacific. It's about 2,000 miles long. The only way to get there is by charter flight, and then you would have 2 boats on the Sepik River that would do a 3-night or a 4-night cruise. Not a cruise per se, but more of an expeditionary type cruise. The lodges, I call them 5-star wilderness lodges. Very, very well done. The food is quite good. They are built out of local materials. They all have westernized bathrooms and what have you. I wouldn't call them the Relais Chateau type, but they're very, very nice. And then also the boats along the Sepik, or I call them 5-star expeditionary type ships. So it's quite interesting to see. It's a place that when you come back, you would say it's like no place I've ever been, because it is. It's just stands alone by itself in the world, and you really haven't traveled until you really get into something like Papua New Guinea. And I always like to say the tourism office doesn't like it, but your first passport should not be stamped in Papua New Guinea. And the reason I say that is you won't appreciate it as much. You need something to guide and to compare with, because it is like no place you've ever been.
So it all sounds great. So the only question I have is, what's the best way to get there?
Well, that's good, because we're localized in the middle. So you would go from Los Angeles to Tokyo, to Hong Kong, Manila, or Singapore, and then cut across to Papua New Guinea. Or you could go down to Australia and come up from Cairns, Brisbane, or Sydney. That would be the routings. And then within Papua New Guinea, there's 26 jet airports within the country, and 220 other landing strips that have scheduled service to get to the villages and the other lodges.
This has been great. I want to thank Carrie, and this has been In the Know Traveler, and we're learning about Papua New Guinea.